or contact me. That's absolutely so. Like Shubha mentioned, I did my engineering in telecom from RV 2007. That's when I moved from Mangalore, my hometown, a smaller town, to a bigger place like in Bangalore. And as the career progression continued further, then 8 years down the line as an IT engineer and then a product support system engineer, wherein I was working as a core software developer, moved up the ladder as a staff engineer, and then career roles like product management, field engineers started looking very interesting to me. I like to debug issues and problem solve, so I would, how I transitioned to those roles then, even before my break, was, to ask for opportunities even before, they materialized to me. So I would proactively take at least half an hour or an hour in my schedule during my workday and slowly transition to a non-development role as a product system engineer. And that role entailed fixing issues that came up in the field, coordinating with developers, with the product teams, and trying to bring in new features into the product. And I had just transitioned, so I had not totally left the coding world, and I had not fully enrolled or gotten myself busy into the product world. I was somewhere in between, and that's when my son was born, and I decided to take a conscious career break. I thought even before I had a child, I had decided sort of in my mind that when I reach that phase of my life, I'll give a year or two to for my child. So little did I know then. So we moved from Bangalore to Mysore at that point because my husband got a work from home opportunity, and I was anyway at home then, and my in-laws are in Mysore, so we thought we'd move to Mysore, and but that did a huge change for me. The first 2 years, I didn't realize that because I was very busy taking care of the child. As the child grows, it's very natural that you get a little more time in your hands, and then you begin to wonder what's next for me, right? So I'll come to the question about interviews as well, how I progressed as I go along this timeline. So I started wondering what is relevant, what is not, and um, I was clueless. I hadn't stepped out of the house for a long time. And it wasn't anyone's fault. It was me without realizing that I had gotten into the shell of just being a stay at home mom and cooking, taking care of the chores at home, looking after the elderly. So without me realizing, I got into this shell from being a very confident and, you know, an extrovert. I ended up being very underconfident, not being, I remember even stepping out of the house once and crossing a road which was not very busy. I didn't know how long I took to cross that road. Even that stumped me, and that's when I realized that okay, I need to start stepping out. Little things that I used to do before I became a mom, I need to start doing them first before I can think of anything else. And I made sure that one thing that was constant for me through that time was my friends. So I would still make that effort to talk to them, stay in touch with them. So that network was consistent. So I think when I decided that I'd start looking out to work, that's when COVID happened, and we were still in Mysore then. And I don't know if it's a boon or a bane, but then so many opportunities have come up after COVID, which enables us women to, work in a hybrid model. So what I started doing is I started journaling because I felt like a headless chicken. I didn't know where to start. So I would every day in the morning I would write down my routine. And I realized that if I look back a week later, a month later, only things that was there in my routine was wake up, cook, shop, clean the house. That was the only thing that was there in my routine. And that's when I realized this is not done. I need to seek help. And I started asking around for people with people, what is relevant now. I need to get back to work, and I'm not able to get that time for myself to prepare. And over the course of time, as I was thinking about this as well, that's when I came across VM inclusion, Tara. It was not, again, there, it was not something that I said, this is what I want to do. I just enrolled for it. And that's when the whole universe of people who want women wanting to get back to work came up. And it felt really good to know that there are supportive organizations like Aspire for Her, VMware, and so many other organizations who are willing to help us and give us that support, without which it is very difficult for us to get back to work. So resume preparation is one thing that's very important. So how I did the Grow with Google project management course as well, and more, not more with the intention of finding a job then, but with the intention of being a little more organized personally, so that I could get some tips and tricks there. And in the course of time, I did VMware, the level 1, level 2. This helped me gain confidence a lot. But what I also realized, that my little son did not understand that mom also needed to be away for a bit. So I realized that if I have to get back to work, I should start training him. Without him, he was too little then to understand that. So I would enroll myself in Bhagavad Gita classes. I would switch on the camera and tell him I'm in a meeting, and he would come and join, learn the Gita with me. So these little things that we do to prepare them for us to get back to work are also very important. And while preparing my resume also, I remember telling him, little conversations, that telling him that I used to work before, just like your dad, but I took a step back to, because family is a priority. And now Amma wants to get back to work. And he understood all of this. And little questions to prepare the family as well when you get back to work. And I think the Smart Start, there was a VMware Smart Start group as well that was set up, where we had these meticulous exercises to do. Questions like, where do you see yourself? What do you want to learn, unlearn? Little things, habit of journaling. All these things help me, reflect, pause and reflect, and figure out what I want to do. So all of this together helped me get back to work. So resume preparation, one advice that I have there is that have somebody, your close friend, your family, always check on you to see at what stage are you during your resume preparation, because you've taken a break for so long. It's very difficult to start off. I remember not being able to think of where I left, what to write in my resume, what is important, what is not. And it took me more than a year or two. And I would think it's only me, but then I realized that there are so many people struggling with this aspect. So even interview preparation, coming to Subha's question of the things they ask during interviews, and what do you do when you don't know the answer? In my interview, I remember some questions to me, they were very repetitive. Like, what are the challenges you faced in your previous career? What are the challenges you faced? What are the things you did well? For me, all the questions seem so similar. And I didn't know how to stick to the point and answer. I had gotten so used to just rambling and not being, giving structured answers. So I realized that I need to practice writing these questions, simple but effective ways, one-liners to answer, so that I'm prepared in the interview. I don't look for answers in the interview. So even things like, tell me about yourself, and not you guys should remember that times have changed a lot. There are companies that do ask, why did you take a break, and ask you to justify, but not a lot of companies do that now. They are cognizant of the fact that um, women do take a career break, but it is not easy to get back, that's for sure. But let's prepare ourselves for the answers that we need to give.
It is open for you to ask questions, any apprehensions that you have. So Sahana is here to address that. She will share her own success story on how she overcame that. So it's open. Please do unmute yourself to ask any questions. It's an ask me anything session. You can either unmute yourself or write in chat box, whichever you feel comfortable. We are open for questions, ladies.
And there are many technology changes happened during recent years, right? Technology changes. How yourself choose and what makes you to choose particular thing to get into the job? How you related it with your previous experience? Can you tell related to both of it?
Sure. Thank you for asking the question. So, so the VMware course that I did had when I quit Polycom, there as a product system engineer, I was responsible for setting up the servers there and testing quite a bit, testing the products quite a bit. And like I said, I had lost touch with coding for 8 years, and I was not even fully into product role. So when the VMware course came up, I thought at least let me get started with little things of what I knew. So that's how I started with the course, and things did seem familiar then. I did the course, the certification was done. So the way this particular job offer came up is mainly due to, I would say, networking. Once I felt a little more confident, I started speaking to people around me, saying that I am interested in getting back to work, and I'm open to any role that's there. I'd like to see what is relevant for me in it. So this role that came up was a product owner role, and this was a startup, and it came through a family friend who said that there is an interesting opportunity through a friend. I'll just send you the resume. I'll just send you the job description. And I think to my luck, the job description was written in such a way that at the end it said, you do not need to fit this job 100%. You can learn with us as we grow. And even my friend told me, you need to just apply. Look at it as a way that if you fail the interview, you know what you lack, you know where you stand, and you pick up from there. You take the interview as a feedback. If you do well, you know what you need to improve anyway and prepare for the next round. So, this product owner role and a scrum master role is what was available. Because of the title and the description, I prepared accordingly for that. And it matched for me with a little with my previous skills. I wouldn't say 100%, I would say 50%, because even in my previous role 8 years back, I would come up with feature description, feature improvements for the product. I would be speaking to architects in various organizations who are using our product, and I would bring it back to the team, and that would go in as features. So, even as a product owner, the main role for a product owner is to try to identify what are the features that you need to bring in to the ecosystem. You talk to various stakeholders, so that seemed pretty interesting, and a 50% match for what I used to do, not the whole thing. But I was anyway at a point where 8 years after a break, I didn't have an absolute must of a job fit. So I applied for it. And I was more than willing to learn whatever is required for the role on the job. So that's how I agreed, and I went ahead with it. It was not that it was like it's not that you always get 100% fit, right? Even they are willing to teach you as you go. And it's not just about the work you do at work, right? It also matters what you bring into the team as a culture. What is your etiquette? Can they trust you? Do you manage your time well? And all of us as parents have definitely learned that now and value time more than anything else now. Even before we had children, we might have had so much time to spare and wasted it, but now we know how to use time well. So all these are positives for us. They call it transferable skills, right? That you don't really have to have just one skill, a coding skill or a creative writing skill. Many things that you do, like how you as a family do things, multitask together, and all of that are skills that will be useful at work. So I hope that answers the question as to how I
Thank
got the
thank
role with a 50% match. It was not a 100% match.
thank you. Just sometimes I also worked previously on coding, but there are a lot of changes. I just I'm just scared to. Uh, it's very difficult for me to cope up with the current competitive world. So
So
that's why I answered the
have you
same
worked
question.
only in coding, or have you done a little bit of testing? Are you open to looking for testing roles? Because even I had the same mindset like you did. Will I be able to pick up pace? The current students that come out of college, they already know so much. These are the things that I had in my mind. So courses will help. Pick up slowly. Don't take up all the problems together at once. There are quite a few online portals now, which will help you solve one problem after the other. First, make up your mind if you want to continue with coding. If that is what you want, then start with one problem at a time. Start coding every day. Make it a habit. Unless you make it a habit, you won't be able to pick that pace.
Okay,
But if you
thank
do
you.
have a skill other than coding, list down everything that you have. The industry is okay to, if you want to move to a step into testing, if you want to try testing, even that is fine. Pick up a course in testing. If there's a particular software program that you want to learn, focus on just one thing at a time. That will make it less overwhelming for you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you
You're
so much.
welcome.
We need to brush up on our old, like where we used to work on different technology then. So do we need to brush up on that? We will be facing any questions on those technologies because right now we are learning something new. So that's
So,
right.
so what we need to see is what is the job that you're applying for? What are they asking? So, yes, they will not be really interested in all that you've done in the past. They will see from that what is relevant for their current job role. So every time, what I would say is, if you're being hesitant to even start applying for a job, what I would say is start somewhere. You have a resume, you have nothing to lose. Apply. When you know that someone's calling for an interview, look at the job description and start preparing for it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would say do not stop yourself from applying. I have done this mistake as well. I've taken a long time to just think, should I even prepare a resume? What do I write in the resume? Or should I even apply here? I might not be called for an interview, then why bother? But don't do that. Start somewhere. Start small, start somewhere. It's only once you start giving interviews that you realize what is relevant and what you need to prepare more for. For all you know, what you had done in the past may not be even used today. I used to work in Java, and where I work now, it's not required. They they use other technologies. So start applying, go job profile by profile, and whatever comes, start slowly preparing, and you will get to know what you enjoy then. Then you can tailor your resume and move ahead.
We have one question. After returning from break, will they be offering the same salary as used to work before break?
Okay. So in my case, I didn't know what to quote. and it was a startup. So startups are always, the funds are very tight. I didn't know what to quote either. So I quoted what I used to get 8 years back. And they were surprisingly okay with it. I don't know how it is elsewhere, but in my case, I quoted the same number that I had 8 years back. I had nothing to lose. So I was okay with the fact that things have actually changed 6 years down the line. I should be quoting more, but that was not important to me at that point. But I would say that you should always do your research. And yes, there are companies that will be ready to pay according to the market scale if they find that value in you. Don't hesitate to negotiate.
Hi, Sahana. This is Anuradha here.
Hi.
Actually, hi. It's nice that the company that you applied to were willing to even if the job JD didn't match fully, they were able to give you the offer. My experience has been like companies which say yes, we are willing to take ladies who are on a career break and they want to come back, but still they are looking for that if the JD few of the skill sets are not there, they don't want to take you because they want if you have everything, they don't have to train you or you don't have to spend time in learning. At least couple of 3 interviews which I gave, it all happened in all of them. Like even though my CV said okay, I know Java but Spring Boot, but I don't know microservice, but still they asked me because the JD was like that. They asked me, do you know? I told I don't know. And then somewhere I felt those were the areas where if I knew, maybe I might have got the job, and maybe they rejected me because of that. Like it becomes like so much of technology is there, we are learning and upskilling, like by the time we reach a certain phase, new things are coming. So how do we kind of draw a line? Okay, now I'll start looking, but still I'm always upskilling myself. So how do we not put a stop? Of course, I know this is like where to learn, but still, get something, then, feel more motivated to go ahead. Yeah.
Correct. Then in that case, what you could also do is, maybe try out some freelancing if that is an option that you have, or try out smaller projects that you know are looking only for JD that matches you. That is also something that you could do. Start off small somewhere, and in the while you're learning, you're still doing a part-time or something like that matches your role, but don't stop learning at it. But at the same time, you can't be learning all the if job A expects you to know microservices and job B requires you to know something else, then you will be finding it difficult, to learn a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and that will also be a problem. So put your boundaries. See if you can do smaller projects. You can have these GitHub profiles, right? Start taking up small tasks there, fixing small things in open source projects. Maybe in the interview, when they do ask you about something you don't know, you can show them what you've already done and tell them that I can pick this up quickly as well. Hopefully that will help, but don't let that undermine your confidence.
Okay, thank you.
We have one question by Snehal Shilke. You said you took a conscious decision to leave the job for maternity break. It's the same with me. I started working. I want to start working, but I also worry about him being in daycare without me. How do you battle this feeling?
How old is the child? So that matters, because when my son was 3, I was at this stage where I would consciously worry. As they grow older, they are able, since they're able to speak better, and 2 years old. Okay, so I totally understand what you feel. So what is important is to look for the right place that will take care of the child. And if you're very concerned, don't do a daycare where it's a full day at a stretch in the first shot. Start with an hour, start with 2 hours. That will give you both time to stay away from each other and cope, and slowly, gradually, maybe look at part-time, look at full-time. Keep options open. Don't have this fixed mindset saying that this is how things should look like when I get back to work. It is very important to also have your family support you. Say, for example, you've left your child in daycare. If somebody else can pick the child up on some day and you pick the child on another. In my case, I had the same concern that thankfully my husband has Tuesdays to Thursdays, he goes to office, Mondays and Fridays, he works from home. And I've taken up a hybrid model where I go to office on Mondays and Fridays. So we coordinate with each other and do the pickup, drop, being there for the child. And he's a little older now, so that has also helped. So in your case, I would say do it in slow staggered movements, like first 3 months, maybe you try a 2 hour or half day away from the child, and the child will slowly ease out to it. But definitely have your support system in place. Don't imagine you doing everything. You should be able to delegate it. That's an important skill to have when you start working. Be okay to let go. Don't take the burden of the entire house on yourself. You will end up ruining your health. You will end up ruining the peace in your house as well. And that won't benefit anybody. So uh, I think all of us are very cautious about the fact that we don't want to hamper anything in the process of getting back to work. And I think even in India, the system is such that it's not fully open, for even daycares for us to trust and everything. So do it slowly. But there is definitely opportunities now for you to be able to do that. And the child will also adjust as they see the routine, right? They will adjust.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. Okay, while we have the others asking question, I have myself a question for you. How do you manage? I'm sure you are set in some way when we are a homemaker taking care of the house and the children, and the time comes where you have to get back to job. How have you tried to balance the time between work and home? Right, because that always worries us because we have a schedule. My son goes to school, I study for some time, he comes at 1 o'clock, I sit with him for some time and then sit with him for studies. Now what if I'm going to occupy myself doing the work? When am I going to sit with my son and help him? Because that has been my routine till now. So taking care of the son's education is also becomes a question mark. Being with him all the time is not possible. That is also kind of whether going back to job is worth it. That is also takes a question mark. So how did you come across, how did you battle that kind of feeling and thought that you're also worth it for all of this, right? So that is one question I myself had, and I'm sure many of you might also be having. So yes.
Yes. In my case, like I said, right? So he's a little older now, and we were in an independent house in Mysore. So there it was very difficult. I had to be around, even evening playtime when I thought I could be studying after his school. I would need to be around because it was a busy road. So you just can't forget some of your responsibilities that way. But when we came to Bangalore, we're now living in an apartment. So what has worked out for me here is that there is a community. So I coordinate my time in such a way that in the morning, the usual sending my son to school, dropping him, heading to work, or if I'm at home, I make sure that I am done with what I need to get done in the morning, breakfast and everything. And I realized that cooking, cleaning, and everything together on my own, it was tiring me out. I was feeling very tired. So I had people around, reminding me that, start delegating. So I have someone to come over to clean the house for me. I have someone now to come and help me for, prep as well. So what we do then is I go to work, come back, the prepping is done by someone else. I come home and I start cooking. And I'm done with cooking. My son comes back from his playtime here in the building. And then we check if the homework is done, if we need to do some reading together, play together. We sort of manage that, between us. Uh, his dad also takes equal share in we balance our chores as well. So but if you don't speak up and ask, um, you won't get that help. So you have to start making a habit of asking before, you have a huge pile of tasks on you, you ruin your health. So don't do that. I have done that, where I thought that, it was it's stereotypical, right? And it's a gender biased society. So the laundry, the cooking, everything is done by one person, something else is taken care of by the men. But slowly, I think it has taken a long time for even us as a family to condition the elders in the family that it's okay for either the man or the woman in the house to take certain roles, and the children should also learn to pick up some chores and help you along the line. So make sure that you have something, a little bit of an organized structure, otherwise it will be difficult. And definitely giving children that time is important. So I'm a huge fan of Sudha Murthy. So I remember listening to her talk, all these inspirational talks that I used to listen to, books that I used to read to keep me in that mood, not to let me get depressed, because that used to be a phase as well. So I used to listen to her talks. So that one point she made there is, she had said that it doesn't matter how hard you work, it doesn't matter what you do for the rest of your life for a living or whatever, but if your children don't grow up to be fine human beings, then as you grow old, that will be, something that lets you down. You will regret that the most. So don't let that happen. Make sure that your family is the priority, and at the same time, as make people understand, delegate, it's not easy, but at the same time, I don't think that you can pour from an empty cup, right? So you have to, you've done that education, you've been educated well, take those baby steps to get back to what you deserve, get back to work.
We have one question. Is it possible to get a job offer after a 20-year break?
So I'm sure with opportunities at Aspire for Her, we have examples at Aspire for Her as well. I think Ruchita ma'am has taken a long break, right? And it's definitely not impossible, but yeah, not easy, but not impossible either. So it would really help if you tell us what were you working before, what were you working on. So even in the community, if somebody has opportunities, right, they can help you out. So whoever asked this question, if you would like to come on camera and even speak up, right, that will be a boost itself. You can network here, tell us what you're looking for, and we can help you. Hi Shivik.
No. Actually, I have worked for 4 years before my children were born. And after that, just for raising the family and elders, taking care of elders, I left the job. And now my kids have grown up. One has gone to college, and other is in 11th grade. So I'm just do some small certification. And I don't mind taking up any job, not like I
Correct.
used to do some testing and coding before, scripting and all before. Now I'm trying to learn Python and learn about AI and all now. But I'm still not that confidence is not there whether I will be able to get something. I'm not particular about any role, even testing, manual testing, anything is fine. I still have that hope, like maybe I will be able to do something. So
I think hats off to you for all that determination. And I think you will inspire all of us, including me and everyone here as well, to, learning is forever, right?
yes,
We have to keep up that pace and make sure that the muscle memory, the brain memory is intact. Otherwise, you start losing it. So, yes, if you're not particular, maybe you could share your resume as well,
okay,
so all of us can help with the job search too. So that shouldn't be a problem. Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Maybe even freelancing opportunities. If you like reading books, then you can do proofreading.
Mhm.
These are
So
also things that, yes,
for
you
that
can
we
write.
need some kind of course we need to do for that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yes, I think you need to, or if you're doing something regularly as proofreading, you can start applying. I'm sure
Mhm.
there are a few courses around. Maybe if you take a look, if this is something that I was considering as well, but I didn't reach the point where I was looking for, courses. But I like to read. I was also thinking if I don't get a job anywhere, maybe I'll do proofreading. These are things that, yeah, you can think of. If you like to tell stories, then
Mhm.
you can enroll in, there are organizations like Katalaya. You can sign up for you can enroll for their storytelling courses.
Mhm.
Then you could even have a franchisee of your own where kids can come to your place and you can, have these puppet shows and
Mhm.
little things. There are so many things like that. You
Okay.
can, as in, it's only up to you to figure out what you want to do, and then I'm sure something will materialize.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any websites for freelancing, or you mentioned earlier also. So anything, any
There,
pointer towards that, so that at least we will get a starter, like
yeah, there is
experience. Yeah.
Upwork. Upwork. Upwork is there, and I think there's also another site called Freelancer. And there's one more site that a friend mentioned. I'm not able to recollect it, but I can ask and share it with Shubha or Hira. And that is for gig workers. So if you want to do a job for just some time, or somebody has one piece of work to get done, you can enroll for that. They pay you for just that work, like a contract. Even those are available remotely. Remote
Yeah,
gig
but
work.
those also involve bidding and all that, na? I mean, I have Upwork, I've registered, but then other people are also there and they bid, and then based on the project, whatever it is, and then they select, right? So does it work like that? Something like that?
That is also like that, and the other opportunities are open source, right? You can join into these open source communities and maybe create a profile for yourself, start fixing small issues if it's into the technical thing that I'm talking about.
Sure.
But otherwise, yes, it would involve you to slowly start building your profile there. So it won't be something that gets done right away, but slow steps to move in that direction. At
Sure.
least until you get a full-time job, you'll have something else to keep focus on and continue learning, right?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you.
We have one question by Sonal. In interviews, can we expect questions on our past experiences and projects and technologies?
Yes, I think that would also depend on whether this particular role that has come up that you are interviewing for finds it relevant, or sometimes they might want to know things like what is a challenge that you faced in your previous work, explain that. So then you definitely need to sort of go back to all that you did and keep yourself in touch with what you did. It doesn't have to be in depth, but if you're applying for an exact match of your previous role, then definitely they will ask you to go back to explain your project a bit. But if it's not an absolute match for what they're looking for, they will not mind. They'll ask very generic questions, explain what you did in the past. They won't dig deeper. It's a surface level conversation that time. But make sure that when you write your resume, you also have a broader write up of what you've done, so that just to brush up your skills, it and make you feel more confident in your interview, so that you don't feel that you haven't prepared. Just go well prepared for every interview. Go well prepared, and whatever you feel you've not answered well, make a note of that and improve on that for the next one. So don't let one interview bog you down. So just take that as a stepping stone for the next one. I think that is very important, where you look at failures as just something to learn. So if you look at failing an interview as not being able to get an opportunity at all, then that can bother you. So it's very important. Remember that nobody will come with a platter, saying, "Okay, we have the best job for you. Come and take it." Nobody will do that. So it's up to you to be feeling confident and prepared for the interview. If this doesn't work, there's always another opportunity. Just look at it as, okay, this didn't work out for me. Maybe it was not the best job. The best job is out there.
We have one question from Deepthi. Do we need to mention in the resume about the break, or just no mention, or no need to mention anything?
I would say please do go and mention. There's nothing to feel guilty about taking a break. It's one of the most important phases of your life. And for everybody, whatever the reason may be, taking care of an elder at home, taking care of your own self, even if it's a mental health related concern or your own health, or your family member, a child, a grieving family, anything that is, right? It's your personal life, and it's okay to mention. Even LinkedIn, I think, has that now, right, where you can mention that you are on a break for a specific reason. Please go and mention. You don't have to give all the details. Only I had only one liner in my resume saying that career break as for so and so years as a stay-at-home mom. If they want to ask more questions, they will ask in the interview. You don't have to explain everything in the resume, but don't feel guilty about having taken a break. I think if you feel guilty, then you're giving room for people to think that it is a wrong decision. It is not. So it is an absolutely natural decision. Um, Maybe in the olden times when people were in bigger communities and it was easier if a woman was heading out to work, it was easier then. Um, Very few cases, but they had the support system at home. In the nuclear setups that we live, or with aging parents and just one main member of the family taking care, it's not that easy. So I would say do mention one liner. If you have to explain, be confident, and you know be okay to be bold about why you took the break, and that's it. You don't have to delve deep into it. That's absolutely fine.
In which tab should we mention about break in resume? And then when you have a resume, which section?
Okay, what I did is I had a summary, and in the summary itself, the last line that I mentioned was, a career break for 6 years. And bottom in, I did a descending order profile for myself on my resume. I mentioned that 2016 to 2022, um, I mentioned it was a career break as a full-time mom. That's all I wrote. And then further down, I went ahead and described the other opportunities that I had earlier. So it didn't come in the way, thankfully, but I understand that it can go either ways, and we might have to explain a bit in some cases. But in either way, I don't think it's something that you need to feel that you wasted your time, because, like I said, it's the most precious time you are shaping up a little human in your house, or you're giving that time to somebody in the family. So that's equally important.
Ma'am, I have a question. So, for someone who has worked in development, if they want to search a job in testing, uh, our skills won't match in the skills required in the JD, right? So, what to do in that case?
So if you're looking for a job in testing, then and you've seen a JD that asks for it, pick up the keywords there. Pick up the keywords there and see if there is anything there that tallies with what you had done. Like, for example, if you, as a coder, you would have done unit testing and you would have interacted with your team for some regression testing or system testing or anything like that. Try to build that link. See
Okay,
if you
okay,
can, see if you can do, a little bit of reading on that topic,
okay, ma'am.
a little bit of practice, a little bit of reading. You don't have, you can always tell them that I'm looking to switch and
Okay,
I'm ready to learn. In the interview, if they say that no, we need somebody who already has this experience, then you can ask in the interview, what is it that you're looking for? Where can I learn this? I'm sure people are more than willing to give you those guidelines.
okay, okay, ma'am.
you want any this thing guidance, I can help you in this automation, because nowadays automation testing is the in thing. API testing is another thing. So for automation, you have the front end screen and Selenium, and then for API testing also you have Postman and other things. So in case you need, you can put it on our group somewhere or just connect with me. I'm Anuradha here. I can just guide you maybe in that, like what you can okay, for
Yes, ma'am.
testing.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
We have one question, but I'm not too sure if it is the same one as asked before. I have previous 1.3 years experience in web development, but when I try to apply, then there are opening for more than 2+ years of experience. What should I do? She's currently learning AWS Azure DevOps.
Go ahead and apply. There's no harm in applying. You might get a set of questions that you're comfortable. It's like a practice session, right? You just go ahead and apply. If you get selected, answer what you know. If you don't know a few things, just make a note of that. That becomes, you get ready with those for the next round. If they ask, well and good. It's just take it as it comes. Don't deny yourself the chance of applying for an interview because it's not a match. I would say just go ahead. I think it's women who are very particular that and we feel underconfident if we don't match if our resume doesn't match the job description completely. But even now, when we look for at Miracle, while we are looking opening up job profiles, right? I see very few entries for job roles by women, and most of them match the profile, but when it's from the men, right, it's not always a match. So they are very willing to try it out. I think we should also start doing that ourselves, apply for a role even if we don't match it fully, and gain from the interview experience, if nothing else, right? I hope that helps.
In fact, in the morning when we had a resume building session, there were quite a few questions on the same lines. And what was told is even if your resume match is 50%, you should go ahead and apply for it. You may not know everything, but I think it's still worth a shot. Definitely, when you are not at all aware of what the technologies, maybe you should not apply. But then, if you match 50% of what is there on the resume, you should go ahead and apply.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's true.
Okay, I think that question is so the job fair we have. This question is going to be for me, Sahana, because it's something to do with job fair. We are having different organizations who are going to be participating in the event, in the job fair event, physical as well as virtual. We have tech as well as non-tech roles. So please go ahead, register. For more details, I'm sure you'll be getting it on the website. There will be a description of the job. If you feel it's relevant to you, please go ahead and apply. Sahana, I was the reason why I really wanted you to be in today's session was because you are the only one I found who is doing a non-tech kind of a job. Though you've been having a background of non-tech, you would be the only person who would want to shift from tech to non-tech, right? So we get these lot of questions that so many openings are only there in tech, and why there is nothing in non-tech. So what made you take this decision to roll back and come into non-tech? Because now we are seeing people who are in non-tech, because of the job opportunities, they want to go to tech. So what made you think that, though it has been a natural turn of events where you still started pursuing tech because that's where your heart has been, right, from the beginning?
Right.
So you could share that as well so that people don't get demotivated. There's only tech roles, there is no non-tech roles. They feel non-tech roles are not there at all, right? You can probably share some of your insights on that.
Yes. So when I got this job offer at Miracle, I was interviewed for a product owner role, and during the interview process, with the way they gave me a small project, so to say, to solve a small problem to solve in a product and owner angle, and I passed it on to them. And then with the subsequent questions that came up, they felt that I was very connected with the development side because that's where I had worked, right? So they told me that fine, we'll give you a Scrum Master role where you have to you will be able to manage the developers, because it's a startup, so we are just like 8 to 10 people. It's a very small team. So since it's a startup, they said, let's give you a product owner and a scrum master role. And I was in a fix. I didn't know what to do, because nowhere do they, because both are two different scopes. Product owner, you deal with the customer; scrum master, you deal with the developer side. But it was more of, they said, it's okay, you figure out what you're interested in later. Now see if you can manage both. But what has happened is that since it's a startup, we are still not reached a phase where we've made our mind as to this is the product that we want to build. We are still ideating right now. And in the ideating phase, we were asking maybe people, interns, to come and develop a small piece. Then they would leave, and or we would ask somebody, even a senior lead, come in. We were doing a trial for our CTO role. So they would come. We wanted our CTO to be hands-on. So they would come, build something, and they would leave, because still in between between the founders, they're still talking and everything. And since I was the only one in the team who had a background of development, I was able to pick up. If somebody left off, I'm able to pick up after them. Although I have lost that skill where I can build a product from scratch, I have lost that speed where I can develop from scratch. And I'm not even aware of JavaScript and everything when I moved in the product owner role. But when people leave, you have access to the code. Nobody will stop you saying we won't give you access, because everyone has to do everything, right? The marketing team will help you give ideas. The everyone helps. Even your CEO sits with you and guides you. So they were more than happy if I wanted to look at the code and see if I could help. So slowly now I am actually able to code a little. If there is, maybe not from scratch, but I'm able to maintain the code. I'm able to set up the server. I'm able to test. So I'm realizing that I felt I missed all this, because I used to enjoy doing all this. Now doing these things along with my current role is also, giving me a lot of joy and bringing that confidence back. It's not that my confidence is 100% now, right? Just because I've gotten back to work. It's a slowly growing phase. So I'm totally enjoying the fact that although I don't know, I ask. People are ready to offer that help. There are a few people who will say, oh, that's a no brainer. And then you feel awkward to go back to them to ask, okay, how do I do this? But there are people who will understand your situation and who will be ready to help you. So I think just asking is one thing. And even if you've gotten into a certain role, does not mean you'll get another opportunity later, right? Make the switch if that's required. Then you can go back to doing what you liked in the same organization. So that is also possible. Don't uh, don't think that that's it. You cannot change a role later. So don't go with that mindset. If it's something, if you're not enjoying something that you're doing, feel free to pick up something else, volunteer. That will, anything that will add value to the organization is everyone's more than ready to get your help.
I'm sorry, we have one question. So how do we deal with the opportunity which is outside of your current location? How did you cope up with it? I think that was one of the questions. And the second and the last question, which is very, very relevant, is that after a long break, when you're getting back to work, you have juniors to whom you should be reporting. I'm sure there's a lot of ego and the other things that come into picture. How do you deal with it? That's something I really like this question.
Right. So this question about a different location, I didn't have to face that. So I do a remote thing, but I'm in Bangalore. My office is also in Bangalore, and I do a hybrid where I go to work 2 days and I work from home for the rest of the 3 days. So I don't know how it would be to, apply for a remote role, because I wouldn't, because if the job needed me to be at work, I can't leave my base right now. But yeah, if it's a remote opportunity and you can't travel, there's no point And if you need to be there at work, and you can't make arrangements for that travel, then you'll just have to let go. But if it's something where you have the opportunity to travel, you can accommodate that in your life, then why not give it a shot? I hope I didn't confuse the person asking the question. Yeah, but you don't have to break your comfort zone to that extent. Make sure that at least a few things go as per your liking as well, right?
There is so we will stop with one last question because this is from a person who has already cleared quite a few rounds. Saroj in Capgemini. She's been cleared rounds and she is kept under the freshers category because of her Lex experience, and she still did not get the offer. So one is that how does she deal with it? And even if she gets an offer tomorrow, confirmed offer, and it's going to be of her salary at a takeaway salary is going to be less. How does will it be okay, or she has those jitteries whether it's worth it?
Okay, so if I got the question right, she's already gotten an opportunity at Capgemini, but is being paid on par with the freshers.
Yes. So I don't think she's got a confirmed offer letter, but that she's cleared all rounds as communicated. But she's kept under the freshers category, which would also mean that she'll be getting salary at par of fresher.
Okay. Do have a candid conversation with the hiring manager as to why is it so. They will need to explain that to you. Just because you've had a break does not mean that you are paid on par with the freshers. You do have that conversation, and if that conversation makes sense, then take that decision. If you don't have, don't stop applying elsewhere. If you do have the opportunity to apply elsewhere in the meantime, continue doing so. And if your career break has been very long and you feel even as being hired as a fresher on par with them is okay for you to start off, then you take a call. It's entirely up to you. But do have that conversation with the hiring manager as to why is the difference, and only then make your decision. I don't think you should stop negotiating in that case.
Great. I'm sure we have so many questions.
I think regarding your question on how do you answer to you report to juniors, right? Uh, yeah, that has happened as well. But I think at the end of the day, you have to keep your egos aside, and just if somebody else, just because they are junior doesn't mean that they know less. They might know more than you, right? Just see what you have to learn from them and just take it as a joyride. That's it.
Thank you so much, Sahana. It has been an amazing having you here answering questions. Uh, it just makes them confident. The whole idea of having these sessions is for our ladies to get prepared for any opportunities, whether it is job fair from Aspire for her or is it another opportunity they're pursuing. It just makes you more confident. So the series of sessions that we've lined up is only for you. Please do make use of it. We have tomorrow a session on networking by Bhuvana Subramaniam. Uh, Most of the things you can crack it if you network the right way, because reference is the key word for you to get a job. So if you were I have known of my friends and colleagues who have taken the same amount of career break like I do, but they got back within no time because they had the right reference. And that's where networking comes into picture. So stay tuned for tomorrow's session on networking, followed by yet another returnee success stories, because everybody's returnee success stories is unique to them. And you should explore and know of the opportunities and the tricks that they have used to get back to work. So with that, we all take a leave. I really hope this session was amazing for you all. Sahana, I have shared her LinkedIn profile on the chat box. If you have any questions, please do reach out to her on LinkedIn. She'll be more than happy to answer those. With that being said, have a very good evening, all of you. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow again. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sahana, for today.
Thank you, everyone, and all the best for your careers.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.